Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Grant Show. Today's show is a special edition where I will be sharing with you how to cook with wine. Did you know that wine is about more than just drinking it? Now, wine is an absolutely beautiful thing when you drink it. You have a variety ranging from dry wines to sweet wines, from reds to rosés to whites. Zins, whatever your taste is, there's usually a wine that can match it. But allow me to expand your world, not only from the perspective of drinking wine, but also when you begin to learn how to cook with wine, it infuses your dishes as well as your desserts with a very special twang and flavor that makes it stand out. You can boil wine and make something called a wine reduction. And you can add this reduction, for example, to wonderful dishes like mussels, chicken, your protein of choice. Even if you're vegetarian or pescatarian like myself, you can add it to tofu, you can add it to any fish of your choice. Did you know you can even use wine in dessert, such as my famous pink delicious rose cupcakes I'll be demonstrating how to cook today. So come on, hang out with me as I show you how to cook with wine. So let's begin with dessert first. Isn't that the fun part? I will be making for you my pink delicious rose cupcakes. And the recipe is surprisingly simple and can come together really fast. Let's go. What you'll be needing for this recipe is butter. You'll be needing raw sugar for this recipe. You'll be needing eggs. You'll also be needing vanilla extract, sour cream or yogurt, whichever one you prefer, as well as flour, salt, and our main superstar ingredient, rosé. That's for the cupcakes. For the frosting that will be going on the rosé cupcakes, you will need powdered sugar. You'll also need butter. You will need, of course, rosé, and you will need just a drop of food coloring. So, without further ado, and butter, how can I ever forget butter? Without further ado, let's get into making several dishes at once so I can show you the beauty and the flavor of not only drinking wine, but cooking with it. Let's make your life more interesting, shall we? And here's why you should care, in case you're wondering. When you learn how to incorporate and add wine into your dishes, it makes eating healthier so much more appealing because your dishes are no longer what some people might anticipate bland and uninteresting. Cooking with wine adds a certain acidity to the dish. So now you take any dish, any whole hum dish that you might have taken for granted, and it takes it up 10 notches. And who wouldn't want that? It makes eating healthier, easier, because it's more flavorful. And this is something I enjoy sharing in my wellness practice. So let's go ahead and attack dessert first with the pink rosé cupcakes, shall we? So I have my mixing bowl here where I will be adding all of the ingredients together and mixing them quite well. So let's begin with our flour as well as the salt, which I have added into the flour, just a pinch or two. In this case, in order to make it healthier, I normally use pink Himalayan sea salt. So we're going to take that and we're going to dump it in, okay? Next, we will take our nice raw sugar and we will dump that in as well. And we will just take our mixer here and just mix those dry ingredients together. Make sure that they're nice and blended well. See how fast that was? Okay. Now we are going to mix our wet ingredients together next. All right, we will start with 2 eggs, as you can see here. I'm going to move this over so you can have a better shot and a better view. So we'll start with 2 eggs, room temperature. We'll dump those in. And we're going to mix these eggs up, okay? Get a nice airy blend going. Alrighty. Next, we'll add the sour cream. Sometimes it doesn't want to leave its home, but that's okay. Alrighty. I am going to grab a little spatula just to help our friend out since it doesn't want to leave. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, now add your rosé. Now, a rule about wine that I'm often asked is, can you use cooking wine instead of the wine that you normally would drink? And from my experience, it's usually best to cook with the wine that you like to drink. Cooking wine also, just one precautionary measure and recommendation and tip. Cooking wine also has a wee bit of salt added, and if you're not looking for additional salt added into your dish, using cooking wine can have unanticipated saltier consequences to your final creation. So for this reason, just simply use the wine that you prefer and the wine that you like to drink with. If you enjoy it, it's going to add a wonderful flavor to your dish. So on that note, let's go ahead and add the rosé. Now, the vanilla. And for our final ingredient, butter. Now for me, I prefer to use Irish butter. Irish butter gives such a delectable, wonderful, rich flavor. It completely transforms your dish so much that you may never want to use any other butter ever again. All right, now we're going to mix. All right, so you mix until they're blended together. And then, as common in baking, you add the wet to the dry here. Now mix together. You can keep your blender on a nice low speed. And always remember to turn your bowl, your mixing bowl. Make sure you don't miss any spots. And once you see this is beginning to get incorporated, you can increase the speed. You just beat it just long enough for the batter to be nice and smooth, but make sure you don't overmix it. It can make your cupcakes chewier than what you want. Okay. Now it is time to begin filling your cupcake tins. Now you have choices here. You can go ahead and grease your cupcake tins in advance like I've done here, or you can use cupcake liners. Whichever one works for you is perfectly fine. For those of you that wonder whether or not the alcohol bakes and burns off in this recipe, the answer is yes. However, if you add the rosé to your frosting, that's not going to burn off. So you fill each one of these a little over halfway. So what you'll see me doing here is making 1 spoonful and adding 1 spoonful, then I'll go back and top off each one. It smells, the batter smells amazing. On average, this recipe makes 12 cupcakes, just in case you're wondering. All right, so now as you see, these are all pretty halfway full, a little bit less than halfway full. Try for about 3/4 full, and then this way you can allow, as the batter begins to rise, it won't overflow. So for the ones where it looks like it's not exactly 3/4 full, I'm going to add a wee bit more batter. Almost there. going to flip this around. Scrape off the remaining batter. So I want to get all of this good stuff in. Scrape the side of your bowl again. Voila. Okay, it's a 7. Okay. All right, next, place it in the oven. You want to make sure that your oven has been set at 350 degrees and bake it for X number of minutes. All right, so while the pink rosé cupcakes are in the oven cooking and baking, we are actually going to move on to the frosting next, and then we'll move into making the dinner portion here and just have a lot of fun. One note, check your oven times because it may vary. For this recipe, I'm setting it up at 20 minutes, but I will be checking it at 15. Okay? All right, so let's go into the frosting. And now for the icing. For the icing, as I mentioned, you will need powdered sugar, you will need melted butter, you will need vanilla extract, and you will need rosé. So I'm going to add the rosé, just 2 tablespoons of rosé here. Let's dump all these ingredients together and begin making our frosting, shall we? Now remember, I combined and added the rosé to the butter. As well as the vanilla extract. So we'll mix this first and then we'll add a dash of the food coloring. All right, it's looking pretty good. Now, you want to add food coloring in slowly because you never know how it's going to turn out. So I'm going to add two little drops food coloring. And this is the fun part. See how fast it's turning? So now we're going to beat it a little faster. I want to whip it. All right, so to make sure this is nice and cool and keeps its shape, what I'll do is I'll also put this in the refrigerator. But just a wee bit of taste testing, I'll just go ahead and dip this in on the side. My great grandmother would be proud. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator just for a few minutes. All right, so while these cupcakes are beginning to rise, I can start the other part of this dish. Now, what I have here are stuffed mushrooms. Spinach and cheese stuffed mushrooms. So all you do is you grab some portobello mushrooms, spinach, cheese, and if you prefer, breadcrumbs. Mix it all together and take the mushroom stem out, hollow out the mushroom, and then put those ingredients, the spinach, the cheese, the breadcrumbs, into the portobello mushroom. You can add as little stuffing or as much stuffing as you like, or if this is too much, that's okay. There are stores that have stuffed mushrooms, stuffed with spinach, stuffed with sausage and cheese. It's completely up to you. So I'm starting you here. I'm gonna drizzle a wee bit of EVO, extra virgin olive oil. A dash of freshly ground garlic salt, and to keep the moisture, I want to cover this with foil. And bake this in, if you have a convection oven, you're going to want to bake it in your convection oven for about 300 degrees, and it'll be in and done and out in, I'd say probably about less than 10 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. Keep checking your mushrooms just to make sure. If you don't have a convection oven, that's perfectly fine. You can bake it at a regular temperature. You'll increase the temperature in your oven to probably about 350, 325, and bake it for a little bit longer, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I'm gonna set the timer on this thing. Then we're gonna check our cupcakes. Okay. All right, so remember I shared with you for those cupcakes, Even though I normally might cook them for about 20 minutes, you always want to make sure that you set your timer, cut it by about 5 minutes just to check on its progress. You don't want any surprises. So I set the timer for 15 minutes for the cupcakes. Now I'm going to add an extra 5. All right, so we've got 2 dishes going simultaneously. So let's get into the divine red wine mussels, shall we? And a red wine emulsion sauce. Easy peasy, so much easier than it sounds. But you will be an expert the moment you're able to do this. So for this, you should get a red wine that's not too sweet, maybe medium bodied. I recommend a Cabernet Sauvignon. You want to do, make sure that you're, in this case, I'm using this because I'm going to cook something else for you too. So add about half a bottle, because the whole crux of this is that this is a reduction. So you want to give it time when you boil it, or just medium heat, you want to give it time to reduce. And this makes the flavors come out and punch even more. So while this is cooking, I'm going to work on the next item, which is a white wine reduction. In this instance, I like to use a Pinot Grigio. So head on over this direction. All right, you hear that beeping? All right, so the cupcakes, they are ready. All right, so allow me to show you and demonstrate to you how to test for doneness if you've never worked with cupcakes before, okay? I usually like to use a toothpick and quickly test for doneness. It's the benefit of having multiple ovens. It's like having several parties going at the same time. All right, so yes, the toothpick here, it is completely clear and clean. So, one dish down, another dish rolling to go. Almost. I think I like to give the mushrooms just 5 more minutes. All right, so now we're going to check on this reduction here. 2 reductions. Your red and your white. So for the red wine, what I'm looking for in this reduction is for it to reduce, but I'm also looking for it to get a little bit thicker, just a smidge. Same thing for the white. I want to see it begin to get a wee bit thicker than what I started out with. So you'll notice I'm stirring it periodically to help it along. So this looks like it's reducing pretty decently. Okay, I'm watching that one. Okay. All right. So now we're going to add a little bit of fun to our party here. You see these mushrooms? I sliced up a few. I want to show you how to slice just a few extra mushrooms here. You take a look here. So you'll want to slice these mushrooms into either halves or into thirds, depending upon the size of the mushroom and how willing they are to be sliced. Like for example, this one I can cut into thirds. Now I'm going to add it to my red wine reduction. I'm going to turn up the heat. I'm going to saute these mushrooms in this red wine reduction. And we're going to add some extra virgin olive oil as well. Don't be shy. So this red wine is going to infuse the mushrooms with a wonderful, wonderful flavor, along with the seasonings that we already added to it, while simultaneously I'm cooking down and reducing the white Pinot Grigio as well. I'll be adding a splash of cream to it. Ah. They smell done. Okay, so we're gonna have to move our buddies over and tell it to make room for friends. Checking on our mushrooms now. So they're beginning to cook and reduce down. I'm gonna look at my white wine here and see how it's doing. Okay. All right, so the white wine is also reducing. Make sure you stay right there. Perfect. So let me play with this cupcake and see how it's doing. All right, so as you can see with this cupcake, it's nice. It's done on the bottom. If you were to open it, it's nice and moist. And the moistness comes also from the sour cream as well as that wonderful, wonderful Irish butter. Okay, so I'm going to, I can't wait. I am too excited. I haven't even gotten the frosting out yet. Let's experiment, shall we? Just gonna tear off just a little piece. Wonderful. All right. How's that going? Okay. I'll turn this off. Okay. All right, so this is looking really good. Now we're gonna add the mussels. Okay. Now you can buy fresh mussels or you can buy frozen and a little bit of pre-seasoned sauce. These mussels were frozen with just a dash of a sauce, tomato sauce added, and I added this to my happy party here of a red wine reduction. We're just gonna let that, now that's got a nice coating, I'm gonna let that cook for a moment while I finish up the white wine reduction over here. For the white wine reduction, I'm going to add a slightly different flavor. I want to add a dash of rosemary and thyme. Come on. Okay. Sear it a little bit. Still reducing. So you'll notice I'm adding just a sprinkle of these items and seasonings. Onion, black pepper, California garlic, thyme, rosemary, and salt. You want to make sure to reduce the heat. So since I only wanted a little bit of sauce, I didn't add too much. And you see how quickly this reduced down. Now, back over to our friends. Okay, so this, we consider it done. All right, so we are just about done with everything, okay? So I'm going to take this down and move the temperature from high to low. I'm going to add just a dash of butter to this red wine reduction. It's already melted, but I would say maybe about a teaspoonful. Yeah. Stir again. All right, so now we are at the finish line now. So let's pull out a couple of plates. Now, prior to us starting all this, started the rice cooker. So we're going to be serving these items on a bed of rice. So for the final finished products, we have red wine, mussels in a red wine reduction. We have pink rosé cupcakes. And we have spinach and cheese stuffed mushrooms with a savory white wine Pinot Grigio reduction. 3 dishes, 3 different kinds of wines, lots of fun. So let's grab the rice. All right, for our first dish, we'll just add some of the mussels. To our rice. And here you are. Next, for our rice-based dish, so we have our stuffed mushrooms with white rice with a browned white wine reduction sauce. And for our final dish, we have our rosé cupcakes. Well, let me grab the rosé icing. Okay, so now you have 3 dishes. Today I've enjoyed showing you how to cook with wine. You have seen from sweet with our pink rosé cupcakes all the way down to savory with our red wine mussels over a bed of rice, to even a vegetarian option if you prefer, with a lovely, wonderful, absolutely mouth-watering seared white wine sauce over stuffed mushrooms with spinach and cheese over a bed of rice. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your wine.